Good morning. Welcome to Kahului Hongwanji Buddhist Temple's online Sunday service. Today is August 9th, 2020. So we are here gathering together online again for our family service. And we're still, of course, in the throes of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Things are sometimes seem to be getting better, a little better, sometimes a little worse. We really have to be diligent, keep wearing our masks and social distancing and so on, because it's not going to get better until we really overcome, stop the spread of this virus. So today's service will be a very simple one. We begin with Vandana Tisarana, praising the Buddha and taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And then a wonderful English chant called Gasho to Amida. The words of that are really wonderful, and hope you'll follow along with that. Following that, we will recite the Golden Chain of Love, and then have a Dharma message. After the Dharma message, we will have the loving kindness meditation, or metta, and I hope you will kind of join in with that. Just a time to reflect on really how the well-being and the happiness and the health of others are the foundation of our own happiness and well-being and health. So if you can really, reflect on that, because it really reminds us of the way we are being sustained and cared for by great compassion, called Amida Buddha. Following the metta, we will have the Nembutsu, singing of the Nembutsu, and then we will have a few closing words and be finished with the service. So thank you very much, and let's begin our service now by putting our hands together in Gasho and reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Bhutang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I gasho to Amida. Trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. I gasho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. I gasho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I gasho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. I gasho to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. Then I feel great compassion. I gasho to Amida. Nembutsu in work and play. Every day with Amida. Every moment filled with light. I gasho to Amida. Remember the golden chain. Kindness to all living things. I will follow this teaching. I gasho to Amida. In the clear bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night, I gasho to Amida. Namo Amida Butsu. I live in great compassion. This great power guides my life. I gasho to Amida. Namandabu. 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 The virtue of Amida's vows is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Golden chain of love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning again. I'd like to share now a few thoughts about the Buddha's teaching with you. Please join me first of all in Gassho as we recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So today I want to talk with you about what the Buddha called the 5 sources of suffering, or also called the 5 evils. I have shared something about this with some of you before, but I want to talk a little bit about how this teaching can help us to understand and cope with the difficult times we're facing now. So the teaching of the 5 sources of suffering come from Shakyamuni Buddha, but they're also discussed in many other sutras, and in the sutra, especially in the most important sutra in Jodo Shinshu, in our tradition, called the Larger Pure Land Sutra. The 5 evils referred to, or sources of suffering, are the things that cause us all to suffer. They're the causes of suffering. In Buddhism, evil is not a force that resides inside or outside of ourselves, not apart from ourselves. The word evil refers to the ways of thinking, speaking, acting, or behaving, or anything else you can think of, which do not bring peace of mind, but instead cause conflict and harm. It means things that are not wholesome, things that make us suffer. So what are they? What are the 5 sources of suffering? You can list them in the following way: competition, deception, dependency, egotism, and laziness. That's 5. Competition, deception, dependency, egotism, and laziness. So the first source of suffering is competition. So this might surprise some people. In the secular world, especially in the modern world, people extol the idea of competition, and they think that this is something essential to life. The idea that only the strong survive, right? Charles Darwin talked about this idea in his writings, in his studies, in terms of survival and development of species, but its importance was very much exaggerated and misused by people who read Darwin as a way to explain all aspects of human society. During most of the modern era, people have accepted as a matter of faith that competition is good and necessary, and many have put forth the belief that the fittest should win, should always win, and that the weak deserve to not survive, deserve to be destroyed perhaps. It has become part of the consciousness of the modern world, and many people have used this horrible belief, really, it's a horrible belief, I think, to justify the use of warfare, genocide, obviously, and the inequalities, just on a day-to-day basis, all the inequalities that continue to grow in the world. So those who are exploited are conveniently understood to be those who were simply outcompeted, and that this is a good thing. Some people believe that. We still use this justification all the time, and we accept the idea of winners and losers, and that losers only have themselves to blame. This very unwholesome idea has spread all over the world, and is a major part of the unexamined values of most people, maybe all of us. Even in terms of what interests or entertains us, most people really prefer competitive sport and value athletes far above how much they value, for example, teachers or people who work humbly to alleviate suffering, nurses, doctors, people who go out to care for the sick and the poor throughout the world. And even we Buddhists, or people who call ourselves, we call ourselves Buddhists, if we are honest with ourselves, we judge others in this same way. Even if we don't exactly believe all those things, we judge others in that way. We unconsciously assign blame. For instance, to homeless people. That's one of the great issues of the modern world today. And we have a lot of homeless people. And so when we see all those homeless people sort of camping out in front of our homes or whatever, we're not outraged that people are being left homeless and jobless in our neighborhoods. Rather, we quickly look for ways to keep them away from our homes and our businesses, not ways to alleviate their sufferings. Do we judge ourselves and our society when we see a homeless person? Do we judge ourselves and our society as having failed to do what it should do and take care of and support, make sure everyone is safe and housed and has something to do, meaningful to do? Or do we just judge the unfortunate as simply deserving of their fate? So I shouldn't have to worry about it, right? That's the way I think we often think. For the Dharma, the belief in competition is neither natural nor wholesome. It is defined as one of the primary causes of suffering in the world. It's the opposite, really, of harmony, of working together. The Buddha saw competition in his own life when he was still a prince, and saw the suffering of people, the many poor and the few rich. He grew up as a prince, right? So he saw all this. And he realized that in such a life, there's no possibility of true peace, either for oneself or for others. There's no possibility of peace, happiness, or freedom. In the current pandemic today, no amount of competition is going to help us. The COVID-19 virus doesn't care whether you are a winner or a loser. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor. It doesn't care anything about those things. The only way to protect oneself from this virus is to work for a solution that will protect everyone. Wearing masks, social distancing, finding a vaccine, all these things are undertaken so that everyone can be safe. I cannot only save myself and my family, I have to try to save everyone equally. And that is a primary Buddhist principle. To seek for the well-being of everyone is the only way to attain well-being for oneself, for myself. Now, the second source of suffering is called deception. It's deception, lying, actually. We seem to have a strong tendency to deceive ourselves and others. Everybody does. I don't even need to try to prove this. Look at all the politicians and business leaders running around today, lying about the coronavirus for the sole purpose of trying to ensure their own re-election or profits or whatever. But most destructively, we all lie to ourselves, and thus we cannot live sincerely. We cannot be true. We always rationalize, compromise, and reinterpret the truth so that we can avoid facing our own shameful selfishness. We avoid self-reflection and self-criticism. If you look deeply inside yourself, do you see purity of mind, or do you see deception? In Buddhism, the worst form of deception is self-deception, because when we lie to ourselves, we cannot see anything clearly, and we are most likely to cause harm to others. In a society filled with self-deception, no one takes personal responsibility. Instead, we only look to blame and shame others for all the problems of the world. The mind of self-deception is incapable of compassion, unable to accept, to tolerate, or to forgive. To live in such denial is to be totally asleep to reality, to be living in a dream world. Buddhism calls on us to awaken, to wake up, first of all, to our own foolish and selfish nature. Not to the foolishness of others, by the way, to my foolishness. Now, the third source of suffering is dependency. That might surprise some people. Because of our dependency, we face many bitter disappointments. We say, I was depending on such and such, but he or she or it let me down, and things didn't happen the way I expected. We blame others, and we say, you failed me. We never say, oh, it's my fault, I'm so sorry. Dependency is the cause of our complaining and negative thinking. If we think our happiness, peace, or freedom are going to come from others, we will inevitably be disappointed. Realizing this, Shakyamuni Buddha emphasized the importance of being independent in our living. This doesn't mean that we should ignore the truth of interdependence, right? Independent, interdependent. We cannot ignore the truth of interdependence and believe that I am separate. To think, I'm separate from other people. I can do it all on my own. No. On the contrary, the Buddhist path is truly an embrace of oneness, a realization that my life utterly depends on interconnection with all things, with everyone else, everyone around me, all beings, all the forces of nature, the earth itself, the universe, everything. But the spirit of independence, independence of mind, independence of taking responsibility for oneself. It's important in Buddhism. It means to be responsible for one's own life, to be free from the opinions and coercions of others. If we are dependent on the approval of others, we can never awaken or experience true freedom. Rather than experience gratitude for the measureless conditions that have created each moment of our living, we are always looking for approval from others. And on the other hand, we tend to blame others when things don't go our way. That's dependency. And it's very deeply connected to deception, right? Because we're always, thinking about wanting the perception of ourselves, not the true reality, but we want others to approve. We want others to say, yes, that's a good thing you're doing. Good. Pat me on the back, right? It's very closely related to deception. So we have to be true to what we think is right. Of course, at the same time, we have to listen to the teachings of others, the wisdom of others. We have to be open to the ideas of others. Independence doesn't mean to be stubborn and to only think that I'm right. And we'll get to that in the next one, the next problem, source of suffering, which is egotism or egoism. And that's a simple thing to understand too. Egotism is our tendency to be self-centered and self-righteous, to say my way, my truth is best. Everybody knows what this is. We ignore others, or we think that others are less important than myself. Or we use others, doing things at their expense and neglect to appreciate the help that others give us. The egocentric mind is always saying, I did this my way, I did this through my own talent, my own skill, my own wisdom. The egocentric person says, I don't owe anything to anyone. You ever hear that? I don't owe anything to anyone. Or someone might say, this is an old-fashioned expression, I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps. So even worse than these things, this kind of ego, thinking, oh, I'm so great, we often completely deny the talent, goodness, and virtues of others, and we build up our own sense of rightness and value, righteousness, I'm so good, by tearing others down. You ever experienced that? This kind of happens during gossip a lot, but it's happening in the world a lot, you know. Find someone else to say, oh, you're such a bad person because of what this or that you said, or, you know, and then, you know, assign them as being so bad, and then I feel good because I'm the one who, because I'm not like that, right? That's not Buddhism. That's not Buddhism at all. The belief we have about ourselves as being virtuous and superior to others, they're usually wrong. Because as soon as I say, oh, I'm so good, I'm neglecting to see the infinite way that life and everyone around me has provided me the constant help to live and become who I am in this moment. So now the fifth and final source of suffering is laziness. Okay, we all know about laziness, right? We always say that Amida saves us as we are, as I am, as you are. Okay? But we all know that we can't really learn or achieve anything without some effort. You know that, right? So part of being independent, as we talked about before, is taking responsibility for creating your own path in life. No one else but you, no one else but me can realize my own potential and discover who we are. So even though Shin Buddhism teaches us to let go of the delusion that my own effort is primary, I still must strive hard to seek understanding as I walk the Buddhist path. But knowing that I am totally embraced by great compassion, I also can let go. I can namo, let go, bow, and trust that I will almost certainly arrive. I will certainly arrive where I need to be. The larger Pure Land Sutra teaches us that these 5 evils, or 5 sources of suffering, are the opposite of a peaceful and meaningful life. As a human being, Shakyamuni Buddha himself suffered and had many difficulties in life. He went through all these kinds of troubles. He experienced anger and ego. However, once he had awakened under the Bodhi tree, these negative things did not bother him. He might still have felt anger, but it was passing. That anger would immediately disappear. This was because he had learned not to hold on to feelings that destroyed peace and happiness. He had learned to let go of all attachments, and so they had no power over him. We human beings cannot get rid of the 5 sources of suffering. They're part of life. They're part of who we are. However, we can learn to go beyond them. We can learn to be aware of them and to let go of them as soon as they appear. Once we know what they are, we can easily notice them, and with the help we constantly receive from boundless compassion, we can certainly overcome them. During these very difficult times, it's especially important, very important, that we be aware of this and walk the Buddhist path with devotion. So thank you very much for listening, and let's put our hands together in Gassho and recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May I be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to me. May I live in peace and harmony. May my family be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my teachers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my friends be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May strangers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my enemies be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Well, thank you very much for joining with us today for our Kahului Hongwanji online Sunday service. It's always it's a pleasure to be together with all of you, even though I can't see you, but I just have to imagine that we're all together in the church here and listening to the Dharma together and as we used to, and hoping that one day we'll be able to be back together again. So please join us again next week for our next Sunday service. And following these words, there will be some announcements in form of text on the screen. So please take a look at that before you switch off this video. So thank you so much, and let's conclude our service now by reciting the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.